Welcome back to the Leaky VW's YouTube channel. And in this video, we're going to be digging a little bit deeper into this little gizmo right here. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the classic water-cooled Volkswagens, these CIS units can be found on basically every fuel-injected Mark I and Mark II vehicle. So in my last video on this car, I attempted to get this car started after it had sat for 20 years, and I was having some issues with getting fueling to the engine. Once I sprayed some starting fluid into the intake, it started right up. So the likelihood that my CIS unit here has gone bad or there's something wrong with it is pretty high. So in this video, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into it. Now, I've never personally worked with a CIS car before this point, so this is completely new to me. And from what I've read online, people make these systems out to be pretty intimidating. But after actually doing some research on them, they don't seem that bad. I'll get a little bit more in depth once I pop the unit off, but first, let me pop all these fuel lines off so I can take the actual unit off. So now I've got all the lines labeled. Now you notice I actually have 5 here, and that's because the CIS systems actually have 5 injectors. Now this little guy right here is actually the 5th fuel injector for a CIS system, and I'll get a little bit more into that once we get more into the fuel injector side of things. You now notice that I cracked all these injectors, and now I kind of have gas absolutely everywhere. So the likelihood that the CIS system here is actually kind of gooped up is low, as I'm seeing right now, because we have fuel going to the feed lines. Obviously, because we didn't, then we wouldn't have fuel here. But so my guess is that there's some sort of issue with the injectors. So I'm still gonna pop off the CIS system just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on in there, and just to clean it up on the inside and make sure everything's working on as it should be. So let me continue to take these things off, and then I will pick up after I have this thing off. Now this is all disconnected, I'm just going to pop the whole assembly out so we can kind of look at what's going on here. Hooray for more gas. Now I think this thing is finally free. Yes, perfect. So I got the fuel distributor out here on my workstation here, and I didn't separate it from the plastic top of the air box just because I don't want to ruin the seal, because I think it's okay. However, the fuel distributor itself is kind of disgusting, so I'm just going to take it outside real quick, give it a quick brush down, and I'll come back once it's a little bit cleaner. Gave it a quick scrub and it looks a little bit better. Definitely could be better, but I kind of just want to see if this is okay before I go super deep into it, just in case I have to buy a whole new fuel distributor anyway. So what I'm going to do now is, it's very important not to split apart the actual fuel distributor assembly itself. So I'm just going to pop the unit off, and let's just see if that fuel metering rod in there is actually stuck or if it moves freely. The fuel distributor is now loose, and I got the 2 screws loosened. So I'm going to tool this off, and let's see what we're working with here. Put this thing back in this tripod because I didn't know if something was going to go flying out at me or anything. So I just want to be able to have 2 hands here. So it looks like, if you see here, this is the metering rod here, and it looks like everything, it moves. So oh, that's an O-ring. Might need to replace that, but other than that, it looks, and other than this spider nest with an actual spider still in it, I don't know if you can see that, it seems to be okay. Just give that a quick eviction notice here. Goodbye, sir. Get out, please. as we can see here, the fuel metering rod does move freely, so that means that in theory, the correct amount of fuel is getting to each one of the injectors. Now, I don't know for a fact if the filters inside here are okay, but if they weren't, this whole thing would have to come apart, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to plug this back in. I'm actually going to clean this up a little bit more now that this is off. I can see that there's more dirt there, so I'm not worried about getting more fuel into the distributor here. So I'm going to clean that up, and then once that's good, I'll put it back together and we'll move back over to the injectors. So we've got a new development in the story here. So I was over here going to pull the injectors out, as I do, right? So I was trying to move these AC lines out of the way because they're in the way of that injector there. And I looked down and I heard something crinkle. And I was like, I wonder what I just broke. And I looked down and I saw that the knock sensor connector on the male side was pretty much like disintegrating. And I literally picked it up to look at it, and the entire connector just disintegrated. So now I'm left with 3 pins and a very crusty female connector, which I've already kind of started to like scrape out to see if I could actually save it. And it looks like the female side is okay. So I think this might have had something to do with why the car was not very happy, but I don't know. So I'm just gonna replace that and see what happens. But now I'm gonna go and order those parts, including new seals for these as well, and then I will come back once they have come in. So here's the ghetto fuel collection setup that I have for my injectors here, just to see if their injectors are in fact getting flow. Basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to switch around a couple of relays in the fuse panel. That way, when I turn the key to accessory, the fuel pump runs consistently instead of just priming. And so I can basically just move this flap up and down here to change the amount of flow that's getting to the injectors to see if I can get a little bit of fuel through them, or see if something else up here is leaking fuel or preventing fuel from actually getting to the injectors. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna switch these 2 relays around. That way, when I turn my key to accessory, the fuel pump runs constantly, so I can see if I'm getting fuel flow to the front.
Alright, so it's leaking, stop. So you're leaking fuel here.
Okay, so that's from the, that's the 5th injector, so that's this guy down here.
Okay.
So that is also for cold start. So so I don't think any fuel should have went in there because this thing isn't open. It wasn't tight.
How tight is it supposed to be?
I don't know. Pretty tight. It wasn't very tight.
Well, yeah, if you crank on, it's probably the same as these, right?
Well, I did tighten them. I just, you know, it was a while ago. I don't remember. I mean, I put it back together.
You gave up on the 5th one.
No, I had to put it back together and I was tired.
All I'm saying is like, well, I'm saying is a similar tightness to that tightness.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere tight. That's what I was doing. All right. Let me do the thing again. See if it does anything else.
All right, you're shooting.
I hear something.
Yeah, so you're definitely shot fuel in this one, and this one, not that one. Not well. This one definitely the like insta fuel.
Yeah.
It's gases and stuff. So maybe if you give it a little more gooch, just
yeah. I mean,
you're definitely pumping fuel through it though.
If it starts like spraying everywhere, just
nah. It was more gases than anything. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Then you got fuel. Yeah. Oh yeah. Holy moly.
I hear like go. Is that the injectors making that sound?
Yep.
I thought it was a fuel pump.
Nope.
It was like dying.
No. Well, no. No, it's definitely up here.
Okay.
Doing the.
Yeah. So I wonder.
So is there any more fuel in here now?
Looks like there's a little in there, but I don't.
I feel like this moved when you first cranked it, and then the second time when you cranked it, this did not move. So I'm wondering if you just, once you started blowing shit through here.
Well, yeah, and also, like, so this is the 5th injector, right?
Right.
So it's like a valve. So like it's an electronically controlled valve.
Right.
So, and that's supposed to be for cold starting. So I mean, that could be a problem with that. Like if the injector is obviously, if it's just not.
I'm just wondering, like, if you didn't have, because you didn't have any fuel in the system before.
Yeah. Well, also this too, like if I, like, this is wide open. So like this is the max amount of fuel that the system can shoot into the injectors
right.
at a given time.
Sure.
So we know that the injectors are injecting fuel. So like, and also like, I didn't know how this worked. So like when we were starting it, I didn't try to like open or close the valve at all. Sure. I literally just left it how it was. So, so it is possible that like the cold start system, something's wrong with that. So like if we kind of like finagled it where we kind of just manually move this or actuate it to try to see if we can start it. But it's possible that something with the, like say the warm up regulator or the 5th injector there's something an issue with that.
It could be that again you had.
But also we weren't sending any real pressure through the thing, so that the injectors were just kind of stuck closed. But when we shot pressure through it, was enough to kind of break that seal.
Or again, you had like a vapor lock thing, and the reason why it wouldn't start is because you had just too much air pressure in the lines and no fuel to get to it. If you start the car, right? Does the vacuum system actually start to work to where? So you automatically create vacuum.
Yeah, I got no idea.
So
I just don't know. I don't think it pulls a ton of vacuum at
sure.
It's crank because it doesn't. There's not, the RPMs aren't really enough to create vacuum.
Sure.
So.
Well, your fuel injectors are injecting.
Cool. So trying to do this the cheapest way possible has kind of actually backfired here, because I thought that these injectors were 100% going to be bad. So thinking that I was just going to order the 190E injectors, I only managed to order the top seals or the top O-rings for the injectors. But now that I know these are good, I don't have the bottom part of the injectors to replace, and I'm not going to just put the old injectors, put one old and one new injector seal in. So I'm going to have to wait and order those. But thank goodness I refused to pay shipping. So for one of my orders, I managed to order a new coolant ball because that one looks disgusting. So in the meantime, I'm just going to swap that out and then wait for the new ones to come in. Well, I'm glad I replaced this because it's a little crusty. Just look how disgusting it is in there. It's like gelatinous hardened goo. The lower seals just finally came in, so now I'm gonna throw them on. I'm not gonna lie, I already took one of these off just because I had no idea what I'm doing, but I figured it out. So now here's how you take these off. So obviously these injectors have 3 parts to them. They have the lower seal, the upper seal, and then there's a little C-clip on here, which I'll throw up a closer image here so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But the easiest way I found to do this was you get a little pick like this, and you kind of squeeze the O-ring up so that it pushes it out of the seal, and it gives you a little thing to like push your pick under. You push your pick under there, and you can just pop it right out like that. Now, the proper way to do this is to pop the C-clip out, and then you can just kind of slide the O-ring out. But this is kind of hard to do when everything is kind of, 40 years old. So I'm gonna try to do it the right way first without flinging the C-clip all over the place or stabbing myself like that. Okay, so I popped it off enough where I can stick my screwdriver in here and carefully just pop it out. And just like that. So the C-clip comes off. Put that to the side because I don't have new ones of those, so I'm gonna be reusing them. So next thing to do would be to pop this little O-ring out. However, this is probably about 40 years old, so it's hard as a rock. So I'm just gonna cut it off. So there we go. The O-ring is not really an O anymore. Let's just kind of pop that guy off. And now the injector is kind of disgusting, so I'm gonna spray it with some carb clean and get it looking nice and new. And just like that, she's looking fresh. So now we're gonna put the new seals on. So here's what a brand new O-ring looks like. And here's what the old O-ring looks like. This used to be green, but it's now hard and brown. So all I'm gonna do, just take a little bit of assembly lube, because this is what I have laying around. It's probably overkill for this. I mean, you can just use old motor oil or even just old gas or new gas, whatever you got laying around, but I have this sitting here, so I'm just gonna use it. So I'm just gonna lube this guy up nice and good, so that I can slide it onto the injector. So let's see if I can actually do this without making a mess or dropping the O-ring like that. All right, attempt number 2, because the lube worked too good. So let's see if we can slide this thing on. Who designed this? Am I dumb? All right, time to research. This is not working. So I learned some voodoo hack magic, and it turns out you can use the end of an old Sharpie marker like this and just kind of slide it onto the tip of the injector like this and kind of use it as like a runway. So you just kind of slide the injector up and over. Because what I was running into is I was just getting stuck on this little lip here. So I think stretching it out might help. Just give this a nice little lube. Oh, that was a lot. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, it's working. Is this on camera? There we go. It's working. Oh, okay. Got it stretched out, so we're good. So, I don't know, let's just rub this a little bit. See if we can't just kind of stick that jobby on there. A lot of lube never hurt nobody. Alright, does this work? Come on, 3, 2, 1. Oh. Come on, jerk. Oh, no. It almost worked. I feel like an idiot. Of course, as soon as I turned the camera off, it worked, but basically, Sharpie marker, shove on tip, slide it really hard and really fast over. It'll clear the little lips here. Boom, it's on. So I'm gonna push it all the way up, put the C-clip back on, and get the lower O-ring back on as well. Boom. She's on. Take a little C-clip. Clips into place. So now that's good. So now, stay. So now we get our little O-ring over here. We're gonna do the same technique here. A little bit of lube. Flip this thing over. Same concept, just boop. And there you go. One injector fully rebuilt. And now, because that sucked, I'm gonna do the rest off camera. So finally, after that struggle bus, I now have all 4 injectors fully resealed. So now all I gotta do is just pop them back into place. I also did give these holes a quick wipe with a microfiber before I decided to put these things in because they were kind of crusty. Another thing I noticed with this car is that the throttle cable doesn't really work very well. It's very hung up and obviously kind of ghettoed together with this hose clamp here. So I got another one, so I'm just gonna pop that out real quick and put the new one in. I replaced the knock sensor because this is what was left of the old knock sensor, and obviously that's not going to work very well when there's no connector and half of the plastic is missing. So this is also what's left of the throttle cable. As you can see, it was ghettoed together and all of the plastic up top here was all cracked and destroyed, and it didn't really, it was kind of sticky, didn't really move so well. So now I got this nice fresh new cable in there, and it does in fact work. So one thing that I didn't test when I had the fuel distributor apart, or when I had all the fuel injectors into those bottles, was this little 5th injector here. So what I have here is I have 2 little alligator clamps. One is clipped on the positive terminal, one is clipped on the negative terminal. And basically what happens is this will get power when the car is cranking, because the power part comes from the starter and the ground comes from the temperature sensor that is in the block. So assuming that those are functioning correctly, I just want to test to see if the 5th injector is functioning properly, so that way I can diagnose whether it's the temperature sensor that's bad, or possibly maybe the starter ground is corroded, or the starter power pin is corroded. So now all I'm going to do is just touch the positive terminal, or the positive wire to the positive terminal and negative to the negative terminal, and we'll see if we can get this 5th injector to make a click. Okay, it's clicking, so that means that the injector should work, given that it is getting the correct signal.
Are you ready? Sure.
Not
sure what that was.
It started.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting fuel where it needs to get to.
Well, I mean, the boot's not connected, so it's not going to pull the proper amount of vacuum.
Right.
So,
yeah, you know what I'm hearing too is probably backfiring because you have no exhaust.
So I connected the boot up and put everything back to how I thought it was. So we'll see if that changes anything, and then if not, I probably just have to adjust the idle screw for the fuel, because I'm assuming it's not getting enough fuel to run, because it doesn't smell like gas, it just smells like pollution.
Yeah, and it's like you're gonna have a bunch of shit in there that it's probably gonna take a little bit to idle good, or
Right.
maybe a couple rums. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
God, I hope this thing doesn't blow up on me.
So I tried giving it gas.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Just how did you give it gas?
I
Like
just pressed the gas pedal.
while you're cranking it?
Not while I was cranking it. Like once it started, I feathered the gas to see if it would do anything, and it pretty much just insta died. Like, let me do it again. So it doesn't, like, if I blip the throttle, it doesn't like it, but if I like roll into it slowly, it seems okay. So I'm not sure if that's like a tuning thing, like it needs to be adjusted with the amount of fuel that's getting injected, or what.
I also have no coolant going through there, and it hasn't run in a while.
Yeah.
You don't have an exhaust.
That's true. Are the injectors?
No, they look the same.
All right, cool.
Nothing looked like it was dripping out anywhere that I could see. I didn't see any spurting over. Well, I can tell.
This is just like it's like clean because I liked it where the fuel was, so it's like it's deceiving.
Yeah, nothing looked like it was spurting over here. Will it stay idling if you just...
Oh yeah, it was idling fine.
Yeah, so I just wonder if you just play around with the throttle cable and just see if you can...
Yeah, it was idling fine. It was actually just like whenever I would give it, like, again, like it was just a quick blip of the throttle.
Sure.
So I don't know if that's like a CIS thing or like what. I doubt it, but I'm sure, like you're just saying, it
hasn't run in forever time, and something, is it?
Also, the battery light was on, so I don't know if the alternator is working.
I can check that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine.
I just want to see if when I turn it on, if that. Can you watch that to see if it? I guess the camera can see it too. That's cool. So.
Yeah, and then the big thing too is like, you can do something right with the alternator where you can watch if the alternator is actually alternating.
Right.
My brain's not working. Shit without any coolant.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's really funny that it just suddenly started working.
Yeah, so I wonder.
It was just weird how it was working and then, or it wasn't working, and then I made it almost die, and then suddenly it started. Whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah, or you rattled whatever wire goes from the alternator to the battery, and it finally connected.
Yeah. It's the 80s. Just don't touch it.
It could be a break on one of that wire.
Yeah. Well, at least because I checked the battery light on the cluster and it was off. So at least I know the battery light functions, so that if it doesn't charge, then it'll tell me that it's not charging.
To me, that just sounded like a little bit of a tappy old 4-cylinder.
I mean, who knows how long this car how long it's been since it's actually run. So for that, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't sound like it was like you got crap rattling around in there.
Yeah, no, it sounded like
a starved engine.
Sounded like a Volkswagen. So now I know this thing runs. Let's see if it'll move out of the barn here. So all I gotta really do to make sure this thing doesn't overheat is add some coolant to it, and we'll see what happens. Oh, as I miss. We're gonna blame the wind on that one. It's crazy to think that this is probably the nicest coolant that this car has seen since it left the dealership in 1987. So there's coolant in it now. So let's see if it'll actually move. So yeah, if anything, like, well, it shouldn't catch on fire because we...
That's only the Jeep.
Right. So, all right. Hold on, give it a minute.
It doesn't like coolant.
No.
That's good.
No, it's bad.
Oh, it's back on?
Yeah, back on.
I don't know, give it a couple rums.
This might be like the Rabbit, it doesn't have reverse.
Pump the clutch a couple times to me. I'll take
That
gear.
was first. Like the Rabbit, it doesn't have reverse.
Oh, she's going. Oh.
move it down the driveway.
Braking. Back it up a little further. Or not. Sounds like an old tractor. Speed. That's it? Is it really in first?
It might not be. Maybe that's what maybe it's like third.
Yeah, it's... Oh.
Let's see if it'll start.
Gotta back it in.
So it's the next day now, and I've learned a couple of more things about my CIS system. So the first issue I'm having with my CIS system here is actually this guy right here. So this is the main diaphragm fuel pressure regulator. And this line coming off of it is really not supposed to be here, but this port here is a breather for this fuel pressure regulator. Now, this usually gets run into the air box right there, but for right now, I just have it running externally into this bottle of Mountain Dew here. So as you can see, this bottle of Mountain Dew has a decent amount of fuel in it. Now, in a perfect world, this shouldn't have any fuel in it. There shouldn't be any fuel being able to escape past this regulator here. That means that more than likely, there is a pinhole in my fuel pressure regulator. Now, I haven't confirmed this because I haven't tested the fuel pressure of the system yet, and I'm going to do that soon, and probably in the next video. But it could lead me to having fuel pressure issues, which might lead me to having some of the symptoms that I'm seeing where It's not very responsive when I'm giving it the gas because the system's just not able to get the fuel pressure that it needs. Now, the second issue is actually underneath the fuel distributor itself. And I'm not gonna really be able to show you with this in the way, so let me get the battery and this little thing out of the way here so you can see it better. So it's kind of hard to see right now, but let me just see if I can show it in there. I don't really know what you can see from this, but what I've determined is that with my borescope, I determined that the fuel metering rod that sits in the distributor here has some sort of leak with it, which is allowing fuel to drip down past whatever main O-ring that is to seal the control rod from the housing itself, and it's slowly dripping and leaking into the airbox. And what does that mean? Unfortunately, that means that this fuel distributor here is either going to need to be rebuilt or replaced for that to function correctly. And that leads me to my next biggest problem. The biggest issue I'm experiencing right now is trying to justify saving the CIS system. If you know anything about sourcing parts for CIS systems nowadays, it's kind of impossible to do. And even if you have the money to spend and you're willing to spend for this system, the likelihood is you're going to have trouble finding the actual parts you need. For example, the fuel distributor itself is actually not too hard to source, as you can still pretty much buy them as new old stock, or there's a bunch of people out there who rebuild them. It's just going to be probably around $500, if not more, to have this unit rebuilt or to get a new one. Now, the biggest problem I'm experiencing is that fuel pressure regulator. Those things are absolutely unattainable, and they have been for many years now. Even in the early 2010s, they were pretty much impossible to source. And even back then, those were $400 or $500 brand new. Now, I've seen listings over $1,000 for that part on eBay. And those are just for used units. There's no guarantee that the one that I'll be buying is going to be any better than that one. So then it comes to the decision. Do I try to go through the effort of sourcing these parts and fixing the CIS system? Or do I begin to pull the trigger to try to convert this thing to a modern EFI system? Let me know in the comments what you'd want to see. I'm kind of at a crossroads here, and I'm not really sure which direction I want to go and what's actually going to be easier in the long run or even more cost effective at that point. But if you like this video and you want to stay up to date with my Scirocco rebuild series, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Also, leave a like on the video and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Also, if you want to support me in my poor financial decisions, head to clap.co and check out my merch. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.